Are you just ignoring it, or
what?
Start the show, Greg.
Okay.
Oh, for fuck!
Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. It's a feeling now. Hit 'em high, hit 'em low, 'cause we're dealing now. Everybody's giving it all they got, 'cause we're ready.
Welcome to the Piffles Podcast, your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast. Greg, you took the banner off.
Oh my god, that was the perfect timing. I am so clipping that and posting it somewhere.
I'm glad you hit record before that happened. We're saving that
that's why I did
on social media. It'll be posted on social media.
I hate you both.
We'll pull back the curtains here so people know what the hell we're laughing at. We have the ability to write words and have like a banner go across the screen. And for probably about 2 minutes, that right there was on the screen. Steve had no idea as we're talking about the show before we hit record. And said, we're ready to go. Let's go. Steve said, okay. Greg hit record. And just as he's about to start the intro, Steve, for sakes.
And timed it perfectly. Like it was a perfect censor cut. It was amazing.
We will post that on our social medias, which you can find us on X at Piffles Pod, of course, on Facebook as well. You can give me a follow, Alex at Real Alex D.
You can find me at Safed.
And as always, I do not need nor want your pity follows at Greg on Sports.
So thanks for joining us here this week on the Piffles Podcast. Again, your Saskatchewan Roughriders fan podcast, watching on YouTube or SaskTel Max TV on demand. We appreciate it. Of course, listening wherever you get your podcasts. Piffles Podcast is brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sask Drive in Regina. Check them out right now. The new fall blizzard menu is out. Even though it's
French
still
silk pie's back.
It's
French
still
silk pie's
summer.
back. I'm so happy.
It's still summer. But generally speaking, once school starts and Labor Day's over, people move to fall. It's fall now. So I got my pumpkin stuff earlier, so I'm happy about that. The pumpkin pie blizzard, of course, is back. But the turtles with pecans,
also
that's the one. Blizzard. That's the one I'm going for next. So
it's delicious. Can confirm.
But like I said, the French silk pie, back when they brought those pie blizzards originally, that was my go-to, and the fact that it is back, I love it.
So head on out to Dairy Queen, get yourself one of the new fall blizzard menu blizzards. Well, I didn't know how to approach this show after the Labor Day loss for the Riders, but I think that this is going to end up being a little early Festivus. And I think that's probably where we're headed. Let's jump to it. Let's get started here. It's the opening kickoff. So, of course, Riders lose the Labor Day Classic 35-33 in what turned out to the ending was pretty classic, I guess. But I'm going to start this off with the national anthem. And this bugs me. Normally don't talk about it. And it's the Bomber fans. It's their little tradition that they do. It's not so much when they yell out True North, which, of course, True North owns the Jets, Bombers, all that kind of stuff. Like that's the big entertainment. Not the Bombers, but like that's the big entertainment group in Winnipeg for sports. That's fine because those are the actual words in the anthem. It's when they yell out glorious and blue. I cannot stand that. That absolutely pisses me off. Now, I'm not going to get into the debate of whether an anthem should be played before sports or not. Because
it shouldn't.
I agree, but at this point, it's not relevant in the conversation. I understand why we do it. I respect why we do it, and I will always have my hat off. I will sing the national anthem every single time with the correct words. To change that and put glorious and blue is very, very disrespectful. And for these guys to claim that they have class, I don't buy that. Sorry, I don't buy it. It pisses me off, and it's something that needs to go away.
It is so ridiculous, and it's bled into other fan bases. I'm trying to remember where the last place I saw this. I saw it in an American one too, recently at a sporting event I was at, and when I think of it, I'll probably just blurt it out.
Kansas City Chiefs do it. The fans do it.
Well,
there.
that is true. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, all you're doing is making the anthem about yourself. And honestly, when they announced that it was going to be fan sung, and I'm like, this was bad timing. Like, don't get me wrong.
Showed how many people
stadium.
actually knew how Canada starts.
Well, also they should have had someone lead in. That was that was you can't really blame the fans. A lot of I couldn't really tell when it started either because it was so quiet. But the fact remains is, if it's going to be fan led, this was the wrong game to do it, because these jack wagons were going to take it over regardless. You needed someone to plow through it, and it's just hard when they want to make it about themselves.
I can't really add much to that. I absolutely hate it. I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of anthems at games, but while it's there, it's something that deserves to be respected. I don't even like the screaming True North, but at least it's part of the anthem. I get it, but it's still
Bombers, it's
making
dumb.
the anthem different.
For the Bombers, it's dumb. The Jets, sure, like it was. Thanks for bringing the Jets back. It has nothing to do with the Bombers other than going, hey, we're from Winnipeg. This is what we do. Like, cool.
Anyway, just had to get that off my chest. I've been letting that stew here for a few days, and I dislike it. Anyway, to the football game. Everybody saw it. Everybody knows what happened.
Speaking of things that piss us off, away we go.
Should we just get it? Let's get it out of the way. The Myles Brown hit on Zach Collaros, called appropriately. It was called roughing the passer on the field, which is exactly 100%. What it was. It was to the head. 100%. So yes, appropriately called. As we record this, it's Tuesday night. Fines come out on Wednesdays typically. He'll probably get a fine for that hit, which deservedly so. It'll be an undisclosed fine, probably half a game check. No suspension.
No.
Because I don't believe the intent was there, and it shouldn't be there. So Bomber fans, I know we have Bomber fans that listen to this show. They're acting like this is the worst hit they've ever seen in their lives. They're comparing Myles Brown to Garrett Marino, which is ridiculous to me. And this was nothing like that. And seemed to forget Jackson Jeffcoat absolutely obliterating Brandon Bridges' head in the 2018 playoffs. And
that was too long ago. It doesn't count.
Oh yeah,
that's legit what someone said. Oh, that was so long ago. It doesn't matter.
How about Cramdy taking out Drew Brown not 6 weeks ago with a disgusting chicken wing hit? And they say, "Oh, it was late. He slid late. It's his fault." No.
But that's wiped out by. That's wiped out because Myles Brown hit him after that and hurt him after tripping around the edge. Like,
different games.
My problem is they got their marching orders from Wade Miller. Wade Miller was the first one to pull Jeff Hamilton aside and call Myles Brown a dirty player. He needs to be out of this league, and this is garbage.
Demand action, Randy Ambrosie.
I'm taking this right to Randy Ambrosie. Like, this is garbage. Like, no. Here's the problem. And the funniest thing is they're the ones who pulled Zach out of the game. It sounds like it wasn't even concussion protocol or anything. They chose to make this a big deal. Probably because they were up. I guarantee you, if they weren't up, Zach was still in that game.
Probably.
Because I had my timeline was such a mess on Monday morning because for some reason I felt like I'm going to strap on the shield and go defend Myles Brown because this is dumb. This is the dumbest argument I've ever seen. He is not a overly violent player. He tries to play right. Look at that hit on Chad Kelly 2 weeks ago. Caught him clean.
Perfect hit.
Beautiful hit. And he timed that perfectly. And I swear to God, yes, he was late, but that's what he was trying to do with Zach to let him know he's there. He went to drop his shoulder and didn't turn fast enough and caught him on the head. But if it wasn't Zach Collaros, I don't think it'd be even that big a deal.
Probably not.
No, because if it wasn't Zach Collaros, the quarterback would have gotten up 2 seconds later and play would have continued on. To call Myles Brown dirty because of the hit on Drew Brown and this in a matter of 4 weeks is absurd. That hit on Drew Brown was 99% not Myles Brown's fault. It was a cut block. He rolled into him. Again, deserving of a penalty. I don't even think that was deserving of a fine, if we're being honest. This one, suspect at best. It wasn't even that big of a hit. It's not even the worst hit on a quarterback we've seen this season. Not even close. And yet here we are talking about it like he's some kind of monster or a Garrett Marino clone. Bombers fans just need to take a step back and relax.
It's not even Bombers fans. I had Red Blacks fans. I had Stamps fans. It was just ridiculous. And they're all like, oh, yeah, he targeted the head. No, look at that Jackson Jeffcoat shot that he gave Brandon Bridge. That was a target. You do not turn your body and try to get your head out of the way if you're going to target someone with your head. You put your crown down and you go at him like you Ralph Wiggum, like Adam Bighill. Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, that was another one, the Adam Bighill injury, where he jumped into a block, jumped into the pile basically and got hurt on his way down. People are calling that one dirty too. I've seen people call that dirty. I'm like, well, Adam Bighill jumped into it. I don't know what you want people to do.
He wiggled himself into that one.
Yeah,
he did. He completely did. Like, instead of through a window, he went into a brick wall. Because if you're going to do that play, you're going to get hurt. The biggest thing I saw the Bombers fans complaining about was that woman giving the finger, and who knows what they were actually giving a finger to. And yes, probably not a good look, but it's also Adam Bighill.
The one thing I'm learning this season is CFL fans as a whole have no idea what the difference is between an illegal chop block and a cut block. And they think anytime a guy goes low on a defending player coming in, it's a penalty. And he didn't even go low. Ralph Wiggum just went high. This has been a thing for his entire career. We've been making fun of this on third down plays for the entirety of our show. So it's not a new thing for Adam Bighill to be diving head first like this. This time it just bit him in the ass. And I hope he's okay. I don't want to see a guy get hurt, but I feel no pity over what happened. And yeah, the middle finger was definitely a bad look. But like you said, we don't know what that was. And again, it's one fan.
I will say, as you say, hope he's not hurt. Same thing with Zach Collaros. I do hope he's not hurt. I do hope he plays here in the Banjo Bowl coming up, because you need your stars on the field. That's what the CFL deserves. That's what we deserve. So hopefully he's okay. But this Riders team right now, winless in 6, 0-5-1. Every single one of those games, they could have and should have won at some point. Now, the only game where they truly got outplayed was the Toronto game. And it was the 3 goal line stands that they had that basically saved them in that game. This game, it was 5 really bad minutes in the second quarter that killed them. And let's start with what everybody's talking about still, Mario Alfred. Obviously, a bad decision to try and catch the ball off the bounce when you're at your own 10-yard line, and then to basically not try and get the ball after, just a poor effort going back after it. But what do you guys do right now with Mario Alfred? Because without that play, that we win that game.
That was the simplest of kick return decisions. Never, ever, ever on an awkward bounce, put your hands up like this. And I realize listeners can't see it, but putting your hands up in the air and hoping to catch it, that especially that close to the end zone. Duck and let it go through. The single point was the right option there. But instead, to let it tip off your fingers and nonchalantly chase after it, had images of Henry Burris in the 2013 Grey Cup where he's staring at the O-lineman instead of recovering the snap that went by his noggin. I'm not sure what we do with Mario Alfred at this point, because he's not the threat he was last season, and not even close.
Beginning of this season.
Yeah, something has changed, because if you watch him on 90% of the kicks, he's running for the nearest sideline and avoiding contact, when he used to be the guy that went straight up the field, not necessarily looking for contact, but he was looking for holes and looking to break one deep. Now he's just trying to get out of bounds, and it's you can't have that. There's no point having a guy on the roster if that's his only option or his only play, and that's the way he's doing it.
But also with he had 2 flubs on that one too. It was the single point, and yes, a lot of people got the rule wrong. It's no longer if it rolls through the back, it doesn't count. A single is a single. But that rouge became important in this game again, and no one's talking about it. Without that rouge, we wouldn't need to go for that 2-point conversion. Like every point matters in every game, and it just seems special teams just let us. The kick return let us down on this game.
So what do we do with Mario Alfred? Do you bench him if you're the head coach of this team right now? Do you sit him down? Because honestly, I probably would. I would try and find a way to get somebody else on the roster if possible. Shawn Bane was back there returning punts with Alfred at the end, and put Bane back there. Put Dante Myers back there. Put someone else back there. Whatever Alfred's doing is not working, and I realize that with 6 games without a win, 0-5-1, there needs to be something that changes. Even though all these games are close, something has to change. What that answer is, I have no idea. I really don't. But to me, this is just a simple, quick one. Probably doesn't affect too much. At least, camaraderie in the locker room or whatever on field, because I don't want to say anybody can return kicks, but there are plenty of players that can return kicks. And if you're not going to use him on offense, if he's going to be a one-trick pony, he needs to be a Janarian Grant. He needs to be previously to this season, Javon Leake. And he's not that guy. Not anymore. So I bench him.
I think the biggest issue from last season that's now carrying over into this one is we had a lot of questions about accountability, and we're seeing none of it. We saw Jaden Dahlke lose his spot because of his roughing or misconduct penalties, but we haven't seen that accountability that we really expected to see out of Cory Mason. And if you want to make a point, this is the time to do it. This is the guy to do it on. Like you said, it doesn't affect the roster as a whole. It makes it very simple to look at a guy and go, okay, you're not doing your job appropriately. Let's get somebody else in there, even for a game, even just to say, this is what happens if you mess up. This is what happens if you cost us a win, because he did. There's no question in my mind, like you, that if that play doesn't happen, we win that football game 10 times out of 10. We need to see the accountability, and we're not. And that's a concern to me under this organization. If that's carrying over from the last regime, we are in a world of hurt.
Soft defense, soft zone defense, exploited yet again. I don't know if it's just, hey, let's do the Richie Hall Bedeau break, but they're breaking way too much, and it's too late in the season to be giving up the big miscommunications that they're having on defense right now with that secondary. And I'm getting very tired of this, the middle of the field being wide open all the time. Great at making turnovers. At least they were in the first half of the season. It's tailed off a little bit. Obviously, those numbers weren't going to be sustainable the entire year, but teams have figured out the Riders' defense, and there's no changes in it. And that's another thing that's beat us in this game. Honestly, without 3 offensive plays and that punt, the Riders win this one running away. But they're not good enough to overcome 4 plays.
Well, the worst part is that soft defense is made for a guy like Nick Dembski. That's where he eats. That's where
right
he
up
eats.
the middle. Yeah.
Up the middle, short pass, and he's got the speed to make defenders miss.
And where's our safety play? Like what we've seen nothing out of our safety this year. Whether it's been Jaden Dahlke, whether it's been Nelson Lacombo lately, we have seen nothing. I miss Tyrone Brackenridge. Craig Butler.
Don't we all?
Guys in the middle that
we all
made you afraid to go over the middle. That could cover, that could hit. Even what was it? Darnell Edwards, number 11 back in the day.
It felt like Jaden Dahlke was going to be that guy. The first few games of his career, I guarantee you guys were looking over their shoulders, seeing if he was coming. Not so much this season. That's a huge gap. I think the team is just patiently waiting for Jackson Ford to get healthy, because he's clearly their number one guy. He's the guy they want in there, and they're just kind of playing their cards until he's fully healthy. I expect to see him on the roster this week.
Well, I hope it works, because right now, like, they're waiting too long. Like, you can only keep your powder dry for so long before something needs to happen. And to go from clear, basically best team in the West to we're in third place right now, looking at both the Stamps and the Elks behind us, like, what the hell happened the last 6 games? Like, they need to be doing something sooner, because yes, they've all been close losses, but that doesn't count for anything.
Well, look at Cory Mason, his post game, saying to the team, you guys can't wait that long to have a spark, to play with urgency. Now, to me, that's also on coaching as well, too. Now, I don't want to say the honeymoon is over with Cory Mace, but maybe starting out 5-1 raised our expectations way higher for a rookie head coach than they should have been. So I don't know. Like, a couple of these games that we've lost here over this span have been on coaching. I wouldn't say this game is, but if the guys aren't ready to come out and play right away, which they were in this one, other than the first 2 and out there, but after Winnipeg got up 7-0, they had the nice response. They had the touchdown after that with the interception to set them up there. And then they just fell flat for quite a while. And there was no sense of urgency until pretty much the fourth quarter. So, yeah, maybe it's the players not listening or getting it through or whatever. But to me, that's also a coaching thing. So is this just a rookie head coach being a rookie head coach?
I think earlier in the season, they also had a lot of breaks go their way. They're not getting those breaks anymore. So that can kind of be a bit of a mirage. So maybe they were really like a 3-3 instead of a 5-1 team to start the season. But yeah, like, maybe the bar got set a little high for a rookie head coach, but I still think Cory Mason can turn around. The players are still playing for him. It's just, you're right, that sense of urgency just seems to be lacking, except for when the chips are fully down. Because yes, Winnipeg was playing soft in that fourth quarter, but the fact remains is they showed they can actually make plays when they have to. So let's pick up the urgency earlier than that.
I was looking before the game last week, and to see our record, you talk about urgency. We're better record-wise when we come out of the gate down 10 points than we do when we're up, 14 points. We've seen multiple losses now where we had a decent lead and all the momentum just to see it all crumble. And on the flip side, early in the year, we were watching those leads disappear for other teams in our favor. I don't think the honeymoon is over, but I think, they're starting to think about checking out and heading back to reality. Something needs to change, and it needs to change from the coaching staff down. We need to see wins, and we're now at the point of the year where we are winless for the last 2 seasons. There is no confidence in Rider Nation right now. Zero.
None.
Nor should there be. We're 1-6-1 in our last, or 1-5-1 1-6-1 in our last 8 games.
Yeah.
That's absurd. And yet you look at the standings, we're 1 point out of first in the West. The season is still there the West Division is still ours for the taking, despite a horrible stretch of football. But something needs to click, and it needs to happen now.
Thoughts on Trevor Harris and the offense, other than when they went dull? Because a lot of fans aren't happy with Trevor Harris right now. And to me, that was the least of the problems for Labor Day. When you tell me the guy's going to throw, or your quarterback's going to throw for 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, I'd say that's a pretty damn good game. And with the receivers, Keyshawn Johnson, Dante Myers, they've just injected new life into this offense. But I don't know, like, what's happened with this offense, because at the beginning of the year it was Sam Emilus, it was Jarrett Stearns, of course. Shawn Bane were having good games, and that was with Trevor Harris. Now they're not. What's going on?
Emilus has been fighting it. I don't know why, but he is just like he's got frying pan hands. Like, yeah, he can still make some of those catches, but I've lost count of how many of it hit him perfectly, and he just doesn't come up with it. Bane, I don't remember too many targets to him. I just don't know if it's a chemistry thing right now. But yeah, Keyshawn Johnson, Dante Myers have risen above them, and that's why Stearns is on the bench. So
like, those two are the top 2 options right now. They're the only guys consistently bringing good games.
If you would have told me going into the season that Shawn Bane Jr. and Sam Emilus would be our 4th and 5th option at receiver at this point, I would be ecstatic, because I would assume they're still playing good and people have surpassed them. But you look at, Keyshawn Johnson, Dante Myers, Keon Schaefer-Baker are a clear 1, 2, 3 right now. Shawn Bane Jr. is dropping darn near everything that goes his way. And Sam Emilus, for some reason, he makes those drops early in the game, but then you look at that catch he made on the touchdown drive in the 4th quarter.
Yep,
It's still there. The talent is still there. He just seems to think before he runs on those easier ones, but then those circus catches just come naturally to him. It's just absurd.
Emilus is still leading the team in receiving. He's 8th overall in the league, so it's not like he's having a bad year by any means. But maybe I'm just, after last year, expecting too much. I don't know. Maybe. And Brett Lothar. First off, that onside kick. This guy is the best onside kicker I've ever seen.
Rob Vanstone, I know I put it on Twitter. I need to know stats, and you're the guy that I think would have them, because the amount of onside kicks, and after they missed that 2-point, I basically went to everyone in my section like, it's okay, we've got the best onside kicker I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it was Milligan who almost came down with it too.
I was going to say, and who was in there? Not the most outstanding defensive player, probably the most outstanding player this year.
Probably.
Roland Milligan was in there, and he's in there in Willie's face. Even better.
Oh, if you watch that replay, Willie Jefferson was just sitting there. He was waiting for that ball to land in his lap until whoever it was came flying across his head and stole it away from him. Was it Milligan that got it originally?
Yep.
Just an absolute that was, you cannot ask for a better kick than what they gave him. Perfect distance, gave us a chance, and after the struggles he had against Montreal, Brett Lothar's been money.
And you can't fault him for missing the 60-yarder against a breeze with, like that. The guy's, his longest is 57, I think, in his career. He's made plenty of kicks beyond 50. And honestly, anything past 50 is kind of a bonus in the CFL, if you ask me. And it was against the wind. I knew he wasn't going to make that. Dead on, only missed it by about, 5 yards short. If he was going the other way with that slight breeze, I think it would have been close. I don't want to say he would have made it, but it would have been close. But it's back-to-back very, very good games here from Lothar after, that Montreal game. So great to see him bounce back, because we all love Brett Lothar. And I know I said I would find another kicker. I would still probably bring in another guy, but This happens every year. Lothar has a bad game, bounces back. So,
I had to laugh though. Winnipeg put out that tweet with, "Oh, our kicker can hit 60." I'm like, well, yeah, but typically having your kicker always go for 60-yard field goals is not a good idea. Like if you have multiple 60-yard kicks in a season or in one game, like when he hit both of his, that tells you how well your offense is playing that game.
The fact that we're just at Labor Day and Sergio Castillo has broken the CFL record for most 50-yard kicks in a season is not the trophy that you think it is, Bombers fans.
That's a hell of a
not
weapon.
a celebration. Oh, absolutely. But it's not a weapon you want to be using from that distance on a regular basis. You like that you can trust it, but you want to keep it in the back pocket. Not
well, every team wants to go get 7 instead of 3. So knowing that you have that confidence to get it from that far back, though, is
I have to laugh. It's like in the CJFL, the Winnipeg Rifles had a special teams player have the most single special teams tackles record. I'm like, well, yeah, they punted 12 times. Of course, they probably were going to set the record.
Two things to wrap up this game. We haven't talked about Micah Johnson yet and the injuries on the O-line. First off, Micah Johnson, unreal game, absolute beast.
That hole you opened on that first running play.
So we'll start with the injuries. So Peter Godber gets hurt first. Puts Zach Fry at center. Noah Zur at left guard. Offense was still doing okay. They weren't great, but that was kind of when they started to hit their lull. Then when Zach Fry got hurt, forcing Logan Ferland to play at center, and Logan Ferland was not comfortable at center. He did not look like
he's not a
all-star that he is.
Zach Fry wasn't comfortable at center.
I mean, that's the toughest position on the O-line is center. You're the guy that makes all the calls on the line, and if you're not used to doing that all the time, like that's, of course it's uncomfortable, right? But then when Fry went down and Ferland had to come in, play center, left the right guard spot open, and that's where Micah Johnson had to slide on that number 57 nameless jersey, and he was outstanding to the point where what the hell, why not throw him in there? Let him be he might be the 6th man this week. I don't know with these injuries, but he was absolutely incredible. Did better than I think anybody could have asked in that situation. And we saw him come in for a couple plays earlier this year, but to come in for a quarter and a half, like an extended period of time like that, and be as good as he was, incredible.
Well, and the worst part is Fry, I don't think it's been mentioned, like Fry stepping in for Sevier has been like, we haven't brought up his name because the offensive line has been playing very well. He was having a very quiet, very good season, being put into relief for Sevier. And then he goes down, they bring in Zur, and then it's like, okay, whatever. Like, and you could tell, and Godber seemed like he was trying to get back in. At one point, I saw him go back into the tent after Fry went down, and he had his helmet, carrying his helmet. So I'm like, okay, maybe, but I guess they said, no, you're not going back in. So, but still, like, yeah, you can't say enough about Micah Johnson, leader on and off the field, and leader on both sides of the line, apparently.
Well, and it wasn't just going into the tent. Peter Godber actually did walk out to the huddle on the first play before Micah Johnson went in. Johnson was out there. I saw Peter Godber, start waddling out to the huddle, and something changed, and he immediately came walking back, and I think that's when you saw him go into the tent. So that gives me a little bit of hope for next season. But at this point, this show is just an entire Micah Johnson stan account. Like, he's done everything and more that you ask of the guy for how many years, and you add in his personality, his leadership in the locker room. You can't ask for more out of the guy. I'm just, what else can you say? He looked solid as an offensive lineman. Although if you ask him, he won't want to play there again. He's He was
No.
quoted by the Riders as saying that the defensive line is so much easier than the O-line.
He might go plug these holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't say enough about him, but terrible result just overall for the game. Really thought they'd pull that one out.
The amount of offensive linemen we've lost this year is
it's crazy.
Furlan's the only one from the start from the first game. Like nuts.
And you wonder why we're 1-5 or 1-6-1 in our last 8. Yeah, when your O-line goes down, no matter how good they are, the consistency there is paramount. You need that consistency to start winning football games, and maybe we'll get it by the end of the year.
Teams aren't built to have 10 ready to play offensive linemen, so yeah.
Hell, we rented one for a weekend and sent him back to his job on the following Monday.
Well, that's the opening kickoff presented by Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Regina Realty. Let's jump to our Churchill Brewing Company odds and end zones. We'll wrap up the Labor Day game now with Lucky Whitehead. I want to get your guys' thoughts on him promoting fighting in the stands, wanting to buy the Bomber fan who is in the middle of the fight with the Rider fans a beer. Because I think the whole thing was, first off, the fight itself, jackasses on both sides, fighting in the stands. I'd never have liked, never want to see it. There are a-holes. It's a football game. It's like watching. It's entertainment. It's a movie, right? I know it's real life, but it's not. Okay, it's a football game. It's not that serious. The guys who go to war against each other are hugging each other after. Like, come on, let's get real here. So a-holes on both sides. Rider fans and Bombers fans. Just want to clear that part up. Because I'm not saying any one start. I don't know what happened. Just saw the video that a garbage meme account posted. But Lucky quoting it after, just to me, bad look. Dude, don't do it. Just don't.
Well, and to his credit, for lack of a better term, he stuck by his guns.
Yeah, he did.
There, many people would have went, you know what, my bad, sorry. He's sticking with it, and I guess if that's what you want to do, good on you. But yeah, promoting fighting in the stands is such a bad look because serious stuff could happen. Like someone could have seriously got hurt in that, and by promoting it and saying you're going to fight buy the person a beer, what the hell's going to happen to Banjo Bowl?
Yeah,
like you're basically saying it's like, and I'm not. The logical conclusion that some meathead is going to take is it's open season on Rider fans because Lucky's going to buy me a beer.
And his reasoning that he was showing support for a guy who was showing support for the team or fighting for the team. Dude, there was 1,000 other Bombers fans who were making noise, living their best lives, having a great time, and shook hands with Rider fans at the end of the day. All this does is make people look at Bomber fans and Rider fans and think this is what we all are. This isn't the kind of thing that you support. But on the flip side, judgment hasn't always been his strong point. This is the same guy that saw no issue with wearing a Bomber hat after being eliminated by the Bombers in the playoffs because those were his boys. No, you were a member of the BC Lions at the time. Why are you wearing another team's logo at that? Like I got hell from Bomber fans for that one at the time because he's just supporting his guys. No, when you are a member of a team, you don't go showing support for the other guys.
Just
that was
the optics.
That's the thing. He clearly has no idea what bad optics are, what a bad look is, and the fact that he stood by his guns almost makes this worse because if 100 people are telling you this is dumb, including people from Winnipeg. And the tweet is still up there. He's still standing by it. He thinks this is what fighting for your team looks like. Absurd. And honestly, I hope he gets a call from the CFL head office because that kind of thing cannot be allowed. No, it's a bad precedent.
I'm not sure exactly what word for word is in the CFL social media policy, but I'm betting that goes against it.
Even
Sean Lemon is betting against that.
And he bets on himself. There's the picture. I'm always confused because when I look, it's on my right, but it's actually on my left shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, unfortunately for him, the wording is very vague and broad when it comes to commissioner's discretion. So I have a feeling he's going to be a little lighter in the pocketbook this week when those fines come out.
I want to talk about Nathan Rourke. Greg.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, speaking of fights, right? His halftime, using air quotes here, interview with Farhan Lalji at the Touchdown Pacific. Basically saying, I don't want to do this. I don't care about individual stats. I'm leaving. Were you, Steve? Okay, we'll let you say your piece because this is going to be a Greg versus me thing. What did you think of that? Yay or nay on that?
For a guy who's expected to make $200,000 in marketing money next season, dude might want to, throw a few more words in there. He might want to try marketing himself and the team. I'm not a fan of it, but on the flip side, those interviews are always ridiculous. It's effectively, we need to be better. How do we be better? And then they walk off. You never learn anything from them. Nobody's going to give anything away. But they do it, and if they do it, you have to at least pretend. Otherwise, you're just giving the old Marshawn Lynch, I'm just here so I don't get fined, which to me is still the greatest interview of all time.
So Nathan Rourke is somebody who has, since he's returned to the CFL, has done about, and I asked Matt Baker, the BC Lions PR guy, this. I asked him,
how many facts into this?
How many interviews has he done since he's returned? And this was 3 weeks ago. And how many has he had to turn down? Has the team turned down requests for, right? He's done several. 30 or so sounds about right when you include post-practice on the field. And quarterbacks do get a day off. So you're looking at tops 3 a week there. So that's 9. All of a sudden there's 21 more at least that he's done. We've had to turn down interviews, but those were also requests that no other starting quarterback in the league would do anyway. So they're getting tons and tons of requests for him. He's so tired of doing media. And he is also somebody who, and Farhan has said this, doesn't like talking about himself. He's not a, hey, you were 16 of 20 for 250 yards. He doesn't want to hear that. He cares about the win. You guys, you want to bring up marketing money? I would argue that he earned that marketing money in this interview because guess what we're doing? We're talking about it. We're talking about Nathan Rourke right now. If he gave you the cliche BS answers, oh, you got to, come out and play 30 more minutes and the game's not over yet. We're up against a tough team. We got to get the pucks in deep and, one play at a time and all these stupid sports BS cliches. If he's going to do that, nobody's talking about this. There's no marketing whatsoever.
But here's the thing: there's no marketing regardless, because who's talking about it? The people that are already involved. No one outside the league cares if Nathan Rourke blew up Farhan Lalji. No one cares. The fact remains is he is paid to be a face of this league. And I'm not saying he need to enjoy it. I'm not saying he needed to give some pros about how the game was going. I don't care if he even gave the BS answers. The fact remains is you are an ambassador to the league talking to the partner of the league, broadcast partner of the league, and you just blow him off. And it's because, and I'm 95% certain, is the way the Farhan led in the conversation about talking about how bad he played the previous 2 games. So don't give me this. It's because he did all these interviews. Probably that's part of it. Probably added to it, but he didn't like the way the question was coming. So he just gave a dickish shut off to the answer and ran away. There's a million different ways he could have handled that. And yes, most of them were probably cliche. But if you want to get paid like you're the star, if you want to be paid like you are the face of this league, how many times did Tom Brady take stupid questions? Peyton Manning, all these guys have taken a million questions, and all of them are dumb, but have learned to just take it, say it, and get out. There's a million different ways you could have done that.
Can this be a lesson for journalists to ask better questions, to not ask stupid questions just to fill your quota?
Yes, please.
Could it? Like, can we at least agree on that?
Oh, 100%. And don't get me wrong. Like, I was a student journalist once. I definitely gave the cliche questions because at some point you've got a byline and I've half written my story anyway. So I need to fill this spot and this spot and this spot. And even the best do it. And Rob, I love you, but I know you do that.
Matthew Shinetti, the Hamilton-Toronto game, was the one that he covered. And he would have a big, long explanation about something, basically explain the entire game to the player, which is unnecessary as a journalist. Let the player talk about it, not you. Then his question is, what does it mean to win this game?
Oh, I hate that so
2
much.
points in the standings. Come on.
I
love Matthew Shinetti. I really do. Terrible question. Kenzie Lalonde did this in Montreal a couple weeks ago as well. Just awful questions. Great person, great journalist. Awful questions.
But that's the problem is that they're always leading questions. It's because I have this. They have this narrative they want to tell. So you need to get the player where you want them to be, and then it's like, and how does that make you feel? Oh, okay. And what does that mean? It's like, no. Ask a question.
How big was this win? It's big. They're all win. Like, all wins are big. Like, come on. I lost my train of thought. And sorry, just to kind of wrap this up, because we do have other things we want to talk about here and running a little bit lower on time here. People want realness. They want emotion. They want to know the person until they get it. Then they want the cliches. And this was an extreme example of that with Nathan Rourke. He was raw. He was emotional in that interview, which is why I also respected it, because that was very real. Him being tired of asking or answering questions about how he played when the game is not over yet. And we got something, and now he's getting vilified across social media for, he needs to be better. No, he doesn't. Come on, this is great. And again, we're all talking about it. This is marketing. This is the I don't want to say it's the RP.
Like I said, all this is doing is this is pablum for the masses that they've already got. And like I said, the cliche answer is not going to get that, and I understand that. But Nathan Rourke telling off Farhan, which didn't exactly, it probably would have got more views outside of the bubble if he actually went full bore on Farhan.
But he talks to Farhan every single day, so
I know.
They have their relationship where he can do that, so it's fine that he did it, right? Like, there's no hard feelings between it.
But just blowing off Farhan does nothing other than to get hardcore schlubs like us talking about it. Like, it's not going to sell extra seats to the BC Lions game, is my point.
I loved it. More of that, please. Although I did find it funny on the Monday, the Labor Day games, the one with it was the Calgary Edmonton game. Farhan covered that game as well from the sidelines. Got both quarterbacks on both ends of halftime, and both of them after. Thank you so much for this, Farhan. Appreciate it. Appreciate the questions. Shaking his hand. I'm like, that's got to be scripted. Like, come on, those were direct shots at Nathan Rourke. The one by McLeod Bethel Thompson was, although that's the kind of person he is, that one was a direct shot. I'm like, oh my god, you
good.
Guys.
to this day, to this day, the best sideline interview ever is still Solomon Elamimian.
Oh yeah, totally.
With Franklin.
Jermaine Franklin.
It was Franklin, and he's just running his mouth at some other player, and then sup, and then they just went on with him.
Moving on. Do want to give a quick shout out here to Dallas Bergen and Connor Suave from Toronto, walking from BMO Field in Toronto to Tim Hortons Stadium in Hamilton, 65 kilometers, raising money for CFL Fans Fight Cancer. I know a lot of people were donating $1 per kilometer. I know Mike Hogan, voice of the Argos radio broadcasts, he did that as well too, and did stories about them before the trip, and they were shown on TSN. So just want to give them a great shout out. Just fantastic people doing a unbelievable thing. So I think they deserve a little bit here.
I love the love that CFL Fans Fight Cancer has been getting this year on TSN. And by the league, the
league is finally embracing it.
Yes, 100%, and finally, because it's such a good cause.
The BC crew might want to look at raising their goal for this year, because I'm pretty sure they're going to beat it within the next few weeks. They're already topping $38,000, and their goal this year was 40. I think they'll hit it. I'm fairly confident they will hit $40,000.
Sure. Yeah.
I realize my picks this year aren't great, but that is you can bet the house on them hitting 40 grand.
Uh-oh, guys, you're in trouble now.
Yeah, something's going to happen.
Hey,
although with your week,
look at the records this week.
Yeah, you were 3-1. I went full Steve. I went 0-4 against the spread last week. That was not a good week.
Told you, the comeback is on.
Before we get to the Banjo Bowl, look at this game. We got some tickets to give away. Hilltops, Saskatoon Hilltops are in Regina to play the Thunder this Saturday, 7 p.m. Mosaic Stadium, which is conveniently enough after the Banjo Bowl. So if you're staying at home or in Regina watching the game, go to the stadium after, get another great football game. Hilltops Thunder are always fantastic games, especially the last few years.
They are they're fun.
It's become such a great rivalry, and with both teams now having success against each other, just amplifies it that much more.
Both teams are undefeated. Both teams are looking to stake their claim as the best team in the PFC. It's going to be a tight, hard-hitting, punch him in the face match, and I can't wait for it, because I'm not going on Banjo Bowl, because I'm going to this. So,
and the winner of this game gets first in the power rankings. The loser gets fourth, I think is how it works. So
something like that.
Yeah. So big game at stakes. So we have tickets to
give away. The CJFL power rankings are so stupid.
Yes. All power rankings are stupid, to be honest. Especially
CJFL ones are worse.
Except ours.
yeah, except ours. Go click on that link. But we have tickets to give away for that. We'll make it nice and easy. Just retweet the show, share the show on Facebook. All those will get put into a draw. We'll put a contest link out as well too. So just share the show, and you can go see a great game, Saskatoon Hilltops and Regina Thunder on Saturday. We'll close this Friday. Sounds like a good day to probably end this. So at least you have a day to know that you're going to the game. So if you want to go hit that game, follow us on social media. Look for the post of the show. Give that the old retweet or share, and you'll be entered.
And it's our Orange Shirt Day game, I guess, for lack of a better term. Tegan Little Chief will be doing the national anthem, who always knocks it out of the park. Not
only is she fantastic anthem singer, she actually just followed me on X the other day as well too. So
there you go.
Yeah, I have some verified accounts that follow me, and I think I was most excited about that one. So yeah, she's fantastic. All right, well, earlier that day on the Saturday, of course, is the Banjo Bowl. Well, without having any practices in the way, we don't know right now as of recording. Well, one, if it's going to be Zach Collaros or Chris Strevler. My guess is Collaros isn't going to practice for at least a day or two.
To really sell the how dirty Myles Brown is.
Probably.
The old WWE angle, it comes out in a wheelchair and casts on.
The Kevin Nash. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rhea Ripley with her crutches the other night. But we don't even know what the Riders O-line is going to look like. To me, that's the biggest thing in this game. It's not whether it's Zach Collaros or Chris Strevler starting the game, because both have kicked our ass in the Banjo Bowl, both Strevy and Collaros. So that part doesn't really matter to me. It's, are the Riders going to have an O-line, or is it going to be Micah Johnson on the O-line? Like who's playing center? Who's going to be at guards? Like we know our tackles, I think, this week. But the middle three, other than Furland and wherever he's going to line up, no idea. So that's going to be the first thing I'm going to be looking for when practice updates from, Britton Gray, Taylor Shire, Britt Dort, when all those start coming through. That's going to be a real indication for me as to where this game goes. But my question to you guys right now, can the Riders keep this game and the score respectable? Because the Riders have lost 8 of the last 10, the last 4 in a row, and the closest game has been 24 points.
I think so. Like, despite the Bombers getting up early, a lot of that was the Riders shooting themselves in the foot. As long as they can play respectable football, I think the game is going to be close.
Well, you look at some of those young receivers, your Dante Myers, your Keyshawn Johnsons. This is going to be the first game in the CFL for them where they're really facing a hostile environment. Trevor Harris has been through enough of these that there's no concern there. But this is a legitimate look at what this team has and what some of these young guys can deal with. But there hasn't really been a blowout this season. We haven't had a game like that. There's no reason to expect that this will be any different. They will keep it close. They will keep it respectable. The only hope is that the bounces that have been going against them recently maybe start trending in our favor again like they were through the first 5 weeks. That would be nice. I think we're due for a few of those. But absolutely, there's no reason we can't keep it close. I just want it to be better than last year's game because that was awful. The highlight of that game was playing bubble soccer at halftime. The rest of the game was awful.
Hero Chris Strevler.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm not dignifying that with a response.
We were up 3-0 in that game.
Should have stopped the vote. Stop the count.
And the year before that, 54-20, 33-9, 35-10. Those have been the last 4 scores of the Banjo Bowl. Has not been fun lately, but it's always a fun trip. The bus is always great. The atmosphere is always fun. There's always 1 or 2 jerk-offs, but you'll find that in any stadium. But it's always so much fun, and I love it. But we didn't do this last week, talking about Labor Day memories, and usually we do that. Got to talk about a couple Banjo Bowl moments here. Which one of these 4, and of course, we're going to go with the Rider wins. Which of these 4 is your favorite Banjo Bowl? We'll start off with 2008. That was the Michael Bishop game where he just chucked up bombs to Jerron Walker, Vince Marshall, and Weston Dressler. Big come from behind win. The very next year,
all in the Plaza of Honor, right?
Yes. 2009, the year after, 55-10 for the Riders. That was when we saw Fantuz hit Jason Armstead for a touchdown pass, even though Armstead was like a yard away from actually hitting the goal line. 2012, Sandro DeAngelis hits the game-winning field goal with zeros on the clock. Raise your hand if you remember Sandro DeAngelis being part of the Riders. Put your hands down. Nobody remembers Sandro DeAngelis being the Riders kicker. And then 2018, the last win that the Riders have had in this one, where they had those couple pick sixes. It was Sam McGuavin had one and Willie Jefferson had one.
I have to go with 2018, but it has nothing to do with the defensive touchdowns. It was listening to Bombers fans boo their starting quarterback during a halftime PSA. That was delightful. And it was the first Banjo Bowl bus, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was the first time we had that going on. It was a great experience. To me, that was the clear winner in the Banjo Bowl era.
I'm gonna pick 2009. It was, and I wasn't there. I was actually working up north of Fort McMurray, and we had a bunch of. I was working on a pipeline, and I was sitting on the one of the tractors, and anytime the Riders scored a touchdown, I was supposed to honk my horn because we had a bunch of Rider guys on the spread, fans on the spread. And I just kept on honking my horn and honking my horn and honking my, like, there's no way. I'm like, no, they're taking the boots to the Bombers today. It was a fun day.
I'm going to go with these. Out of these ones, it's 2008, the Michael Bishop game, because we were in the upper deck at Old Canada Inn Stadium, and Bomber fans were just giving it to us the entire game. Deservedly so. The Riders were getting pumped in that one. But they got awfully quiet in the fourth quarter, and they got out of that stadium in a hurry. So that was a blast. With an honorable mention to 2005, when Mr. MTV Karsten Bailey had the game-winning touchdown for the Riders in that one. I was on the Riderville bus for that one. That was the first Banjo Bowl I went to. So honorable mention to that. Wish I could tell you more about that night, but I do not remember.
R.I.P. to Riderville buses. Those were an absolute trip. Every single one of them was a gong show in the best sense.
Sorry, I missed this. Do we see Jackson Ford at safety? I know, Steve, you alluded to that earlier in the show. I think he's got to be playing this one. His 2 6-game stints are over now that the team has played 12 games. Hopefully that's an answer to our secondary.
And he spent some time last week practicing with the ones. I don't think they're doing that if he's not pretty damn close to playing. He'll be out there, and I think our defense will be better for it.
All right. Well, once we find out what's going on with practice, we'll shoot some updates on social media as well too. But hopefully they can keep this one at least close, enjoyable. I do believe that they're not going to get blown out. I do believe that. I'm not sure I have the faith in them winning right now in this game, but they will keep it close. Although don't take me as a guarantee, because last week I was 0-4 on my picks. So maybe I'm not the person to trust. But, well, speaking of the picks, let's do them. Let's get to our Piffles Picks.
Piffles Picks.
Well, folks, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time.
Fun fact about that is, Greg, you can finish at 52% correct.
Well, I am so I can feel it. I can. It's going to come down to the last game. I'm either going to end up at 50 or I'm going to end up at 52. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
God, I hope it's 50, just to see you suffer that little bit.
You are gonna.
It's gonna be the Grey. Well, technically speaking, if we go into the Grey Cup, it could be the Grey Cup.
Well, it's a regular season, right? So you'll get. I think it was 51.8%, which we will round up to 52%. So right now you're at 50. So just keep that going until the very end, and you should be okay.
2-2 every week, and then 3-2, 3-1 the last week. Yeah.
We'll start off with the first game, BC at Montreal. I don't even know what to make of this spread, because BC, I bet you they're loving Nathan Rourke right now, but I think it has to be Montreal, and I'm going to guess it's 6.5.
I'm going to go Montreal. It's a little bit lower than that just because of Nathan Rourke showing. I'm going to go 4.5.
Montreal 2.5.
That's it, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought it was going to be more, so I was going to originally say BC, but I'm going to take Montreal on that because I think they do win by more than a field goal.
I'm definitely taking BC in this one. I think they've turned the corner, and Montreal hasn't looked that great over the last 3-4 weeks.
I think I'm going to take Montreal, one, because I think they're the better team, and two, BC going to Montreal across the country is not an easy trip. So I think Montreal is coming off a bye week and is probably going to get an early lead fast.
All right, second game of the week on Saturday as part of the triple header, Toronto at Ottawa. Steve, do you want to take a guess at this one first?
I'm going to go with Ottawa. They are at home. Ottawa 2.5.
I'm going to say Ottawa 1.5. That should count in the standings.
But then I wouldn't get any points.
Good.
That's the way we like it.
Point. That's the whole point. I'm going with the Argos. They're just a different offense with Chad Kelly. They are a better team with him. Whether you agree he should be playing or not. Fact is, he is, and they're better with him.
I'm going with Ottawa, and I think they cover by a lot more than 1.5.
Oh, they cut their leading running back, so
Yeah, Reichwell Armstead got cut, and they brought in Jamal Morrow, who finally passed a physical.
So good for
Good for him. Welcome
Yes.
back.
Yeah, great guy.
I took Ottawa last week and they let me down. I don't think I can do it twice. I'm gonna have to take no means no Chad Kelly, I guess.
That chant came through pretty well on the broadcast.
And TSN covered
TSN,
it.
yeah. They talked about it in the highlights. That was fantastic. Good on TSN because they could easily sweep it under the rug, and they chose not to.
I don't think they could.
We really need to show that highlight, but we can't. We need the audio.
Are they chanting "Go Bo Go"?
Yeah. Saskatchewan at Winnipeg, the Banjo Bowl, which is now an hour earlier, so it's 1:00
on CTV.
On CTV, which overlaps.
CFL has been terrible announcing this.
Which this game overlaps the final hour of Toronto Ottawa. So anybody who wants to watch the ending of that game is going to miss the start of the Banjo Bowl. So good job, guys. I'm going to guess that it's Winnipeg by 4.5.
I'm going to cheap out and just pick the score from last week and go Winnipeg -2. Oh,
just 2.
Just 2. All right.
Not
so
2.5.
apparently the betting odds are also just going off the score of last week. Cool.
Yeah, I'm taking Winnipeg to cover that.
I realize I'm going against the greater good, but my record last week speaks for itself. I didn't get enough credit for leading us last week.
I said you were 3-1.
I've been the joke for the last 6 weeks, but I finally win one. 3-1. I'm going.
Steve, you've been the joke longer than the last 6 weeks. Just so you know.
Rude.
A little bit
fair, but rude. I kind of walked right into that one, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. I'm going Saskatchewan.
I'm joining the guy that was 3-1, so this is going to definitely equal my 2-2. So I'm going to take Saskatchewan as well. I'm taking King Homer again. So.
I hope you guys are right. I really do, and it's not just a 1-point game either. I hope it's a full out Saskatchewan.
I hope they actually win. Yes,
yes.
I don't want them to cover. I want them to win, but.
And then finally, a game that, well, depending on how this Rider game goes, means a lot to the Riders all of a sudden. Calgary at Edmonton, the Labor Day rematch. Steve, I'll let you guess first here.
Edmonton by, what was the final score this week?
Well, they won by like 15 points. They got a late touchdown. Yeah, they got a late touchdown.
Edmonton by 3.5.
Edmonton 4.5.
1.5.
That's it. Wow.
That is it.
I'll take the Elks on that one.
Give me the Edmonton Football Club as long as Jake Mayer's at quarterback for Calgary.
He's
all three of us. Jake Mayer's terrible. Like I cannot take Jake Mayer.
18 days off because they had the bye week before Labor Day. They played an early game and then had the bye week and then didn't play until the Monday, and he throws 4 interceptions. Awful. I'm just glad that everybody else across the CFL or fans are realizing what I've been harping on for years. This guy is not good. All right, well, there we go. There's our picks for the week. Do with that what you will. Now that Steve's not the free space on the bingo card anymore, so you can't just go against his picks, at least.
For 1 week. Come on.
Hey, soon to be 2. I'm going 4-0 this week.
He is going to ride
make it a habit before we start saying he's turned it around.
Could be worse. I could have gone 0-4, Alex.
Steve is the Henry Burris of Piffles Picks.
Turning the ship around. You can both shove it.
Well, we'll leave it there. Hopefully everybody enjoys the Banjo Bowl. I'm looking forward to it, just the trip itself. If you're joining us on the bus, can't wait to see you dark and early on Saturday morning. We'll be ready to go. If you're not there by 3:30, we're leaving without you.
I will not be there, so
enjoy your sleep in, you jerk.
Although I do miss, I'm going to miss Red Barn. I'm truly suffering here.
I found my biggest piece of Tupperware and I'm bringing that so I could bring Red Barn back. Thank you, Furlan, for putting that in motion last year.
You know, I've always said Furlan's greatest contribution to the show was the name, but I think his greatest contribution to Piffles podcast as a whole was bringing Tupperware on the bus and bringing home, was it a 12-piece of chicken last year?
The smell.
I've never seen so many people hate somebody
lid.
so much. Oh, I don't want to go out and call him a genius, but it's hard to argue when he does things like that.
Right. I can't wait for him to be on the trip, man. He makes me so happy on bus trips. All right. Well, Piffles Podcast is brought to you by our great friends at Dairy Queen on Elphinstone Street and Sask Drive in Regina. Special thanks, of course, always go out to Kathy Festian of Royal LePage Regina Realty and Churchill Brewing Company for their support, making the show possible. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast, watching on YouTube or SaskTel Max TV on demand. Hope you enjoyed. This has been the Piffles Podcast. This is Ghost Behind Your Mind by Tyler Gilbert.
The ghost